Hey there, new viewers, and welcome back, my lovely kois. It's your favorite whale Otto here, swimming in with...
The one and only Ocean Gym herself, Kailani.
Today, we're diving into something a little different, but super interesting. We'll be reacting to The Predatory World of Food Delivery by Zackary Smigel. This is actually the first React video we'll be doing. I'm really excited to do it.
Yeah, this one's all about how delivery apps treat workers and customers, and honestly, it sounds kinda wild.
Right? I've seen a few snippets already myself, even before the reaction. And if you've ever wondered what goes on behind the scenes with all these food delivery apps and how they impact the delivery drivers, the customers, and even the restaurants, this one's for you. And I personally have some experience with this as I've done some DoorDash driving myself.
And while you're here, don't forget you can catch us live over at twitch.tv/AutoWhale. We hang out, play games, and do live reactions together with the whole pod.
Or if you want more cozy content like this, check out the main channel at youtube.com/auto_Kailani. There's tons more videos waiting for you there.
Alright, snacks ready? Drinks in hand?
Let's dive in and see just how deep this delivery drama goes. Video that is about the predatory world of food delivery. And just for some additional added context, I did DoorDash delivery for like a year, a long time ago. And yeah, I've seen this video before, and I can actually speak to all this. It is not particularly easy to be a driver because the apps themselves definitely put you in a really bad position. So if you like the reaction here, please feel free to subscribe, like the video, tell me about your food delivery grievances, and let's do it.
Welcome to another video about an epidemic that is making a lot of people angry. Today we're talking
And
about
I'm hoping
food
we can
delivery
all
apps.
hear it.
Tell me if this has ever happened to you. You're in the middle of an intense gaming session, but suddenly you get a craving for some Taco Bell, specifically a chalupa. Instead of driving, you decide to open a delivery app like DoorDash because you worked hard this week and gosh darn it, you deserve it. But when you open the app, you get bombarded with pop-ups, the prices are insane, and after ordering, you're left with the worst case of guilt in the history of mankind. Listen, we've all been there. Whether it's pizza, groceries, or even some cold medicine, delivery services are a really nice convenience.
Help, I can't like or subscribe. I got you. Don't worry. There's a button for all this stuff. Don't you worry. When you watch this video, don't worry. All those buttons are there. I do want to point out that the expenses for delivery apps weren't always like as bad as they are today. It used to be like slightly better. And I've had to use delivery apps quite a bit in the past because I did a right after I did delivery, actually, when I did delivery for DoorDash, I did a coding boot camp, and then I went to like back to school. But during like those times, I had to do delivery a lot because I was at this coding boot camp for like 10 to 12 hours a day for the like the whole beginning of it. So like I had to like get delivery a lot. The only other option I had was like a food truck that would stop by, and the food wasn't great there. So like I had to do delivery a lot. So
they've become wildly impractical. They're expensive, manipulative, and in many aspects fundamentally broken. But this story goes way deeper. And to make matters worse, delivery apps are squeezing restaurants, exploiting drivers, and reshaping how food shows up at our door. The future? Well, it might not include real restaurants, real drivers, or even real choice. So how did we get here? Who's benefiting? Who's being left behind? And what, if anything, can we do about it? Let's get started. Food delivery used to be simple. You called a restaurant, someone picked up the phone, and 30 minutes later, a teenager named Kyle handed you a greasy box of pizza, and you handed him some cash. But in the early 2010s, startups like DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub arrived with a groundbreaking promise. Get anything delivered from anywhere with just a few taps.
there actually used to be other food delivery apps. There was one, not an app, but there was this company before these guys that did food delivery, and they don't exist anymore. I wish I remembered the name, because I remember seeing them when I first came to where I am now, like where I live now. And there used to be like, you had to like go to like a website or something, and then you would order your food. Not every restaurant did it. It was really like unique and interesting, and I don't think I ever used it, but I kept seeing cars that had like the branding for it. I wish Waiters. It was called Waiters. It's called like waiters.com. That's what it was, or something like that.
At 11 p.m. Small restaurants that never offered delivery unlocked a new revenue stream, and for gig workers, a new kind of job arrived, one you could start on your phone with flexible hours and unlimited pay. For many, food delivery had gone from a niche service to a fully normalized part of everyday life. Instead of just wasting time or even gas money, just order it to your door. We saw this really take shape during the pandemic when delivery became more than a convenience. At times, it became a necessity. And I think most of us can agree, there are some real use cases for food delivery, and it deserves a spot in our marketplace. But these apps are not what we were promised. There are so many issues with delivery apps like DoorDash, Grubhub, and Uber Eats that it's hard to know where to start.
Wait, so also I was talking to Kai yesterday, and it was interesting. They mentioned that they can only order DoorDash where they live. I don't know, like, I'm curious for anybody that's not in the US. What is like, what do you also use DoorDash or something like that? Or is there a separate like food delivery service? I know there's a couple EU people that pop in and out. I'm curious like what other services exist outside the US. Because there's in Asia, there's like Panda. There's something Panda. Panda delivery. I'm trying to figure out what it's called again. Is it Hungry Panda? It's Hungry Panda. Something like that. There's another place, like another app called like Hungry Panda or something. But these are like the main three apparently. But there's like also other services. And I know when I went to Taiwan, there was other services. Actually, Uber Eats was the service in Taiwan. I saw like barely anything for DoorDash. It was like the Hungry Panda one or Uber Eats.
About $1 for every time.
Kind of interesting. I'm curious like what other
options
there are in other locations around the world.
Your food arrives late, cold, and sometimes even half-eaten. It's become a bit of a meme. But by far, the biggest issue with these apps is pricing. For years, the public has slammed these apps for exorbitant fees, inflated menu prices, and a complete lack of transparency when it comes to markups. Just venture to any Reddit thread on DoorDash, Grubhub, or Uber Eats, and you'll find numerous complaints about the cost of using these apps.
Actually, my biggest complaint was, I remember I stopped using DoorDash for delivering food to me. For whatever reason, I don't know what it was, but it was only DoorDash. I used Uber Eats afterwards, and I never had this problem. Every time I used DoorDash, an item would just be gone. I would get like, let's pretend I got a hamburger and fries. I would essentially just get the hamburger, and there would be no fries. And I'd be like, what's happening? And it happened so many times in a row that I just had to stop. DoorDash doesn't exist. It's Uber Eats. Deliveroo. Okay, cool. Or Just Eat, which I think is Grubhub. Okay, Deliveroo. I've never heard of Deliveroo. Yeah, DoorDash doesn't exist in some of these places out of the US, which is really interesting. It's like Uber Eats does, though. Uber Eats exists. Probably because Uber is used so much in other places around the world that's the reason why Uber Eats exists. But no, does like Postmates I think is actually owned by somebody now. It's like owned by Uber or something like that. Deliveroo sounds awesome. It does. I was just thinking, okay, is that an Australian one? My biggest issue with DoorDash was my order was always wrong. Like it was always wrong. I'm not even exaggerating. It was always wrong. It happened so many times in a row. I just had to stop. Their logo was a kangaroo. That blows my mind entirely. I never would have expected Deliveroo to have a kangaroo mascot. That you just opened up my my whole universe there. But my biggest issue at the time when I stopped using DoorDash was not the price. It was never right. But when I started using Uber Eats, it was way better.
People saying
I don't know if like
expensive.
what the issue was, but
Insane. I looked up a few items in my area and compared the delivery app prices versus the in-store prices for some context.
Oh yeah, this is insane, by the way.
Noticeable.
It's insane markups. These are insane.
$9.99 at my local store. On DoorDash, Grubhub, and Uber Eats, $7.30.
Yeah, it's like a 20% increase. Yeah, 20 to 25.
I checked Burger King next. A Whopper is $5.69 in store. On the apps, it's $7.19. A 26% increase. And of course, I had to check McDonald's. A Big Mac is priced at $5.39 in store. On the apps, it's marked up to $7.19, equating to a massive 33%.
But that's not the restaurant always.
The base menu price. This doesn't include delivery fees, tips, or even service fees. These apps have become a bit like blowing money in Vegas, except there's no chance of you.
I don't remember where he talks about this, but
by your family. For restaurants and gig workers, it's not sunshine and rainbows either. During the pandemic.
Yeah, so this is the big issue actually. Everybody's getting kind of screwed over outside of the app. So The reason why the prices are so high on the apps, DoorDash specifically, is really bad. Uber Eats, I remember the commission. So he actually says it later in the video. I'm going to spoil it a little bit. But like the reason why those prices are so much worse is DoorDash charges the restaurant like a 20 to 25% commission or something. It's crazy.
Welcome, Cockazoo
It's
and the party of
crazy.
9. Thank you for the fantastic raid.
Oh, hi,
Let's
Cake.
extend a heartfelt welcome
Hi,
and create a
Cake.
cozy atmosphere where new friendships can bloom. Join us in spreading
Ani.
joy, laughter, and positive vibes as we
Hi,
come
Cake.
together in our ocean community. Together, we shine brighter.
How you doing, Cake? Welcome, welcome. I'm going to put this a little bit higher. Hi, Cake. Thanks for the raid. I appreciate it. We're doing a reaction right now. I'm Otto. This is Kailani. We're reacting to the predatory world of food delivery. If you want to just hang out and vibe for that, we'd love to have you here. Hello, Narukami. Thank you. Hello, Salumbrera. Oh man. Ooh, I killed your name. I am so sorry. Salumbrera, I killed your name. Oh no. I'm just going to call you Rare for now. That way I don't offend you. I killed your name. I'm so sorry. But yeah, we're watching this I'll give like the quick overview. So basically we're just talking about delivery apps and such. I'm used to it. I feel bad. I'm so sorry. I was just saying in this so DoorDash, the reason why like you get a markup on a lot of your food, maybe some people already know this, so maybe this is just you already know it. So like for example, if your item feels like it's much higher than in the store, DoorDash charges restaurants a 25% like commission. It's something insane. It's a crazy number. So anytime obviously an order goes through, the restaurant, 25% of that receipt goes to DoorDash. Yeah. Uber Eats is 15%. I don't know Grubhub. Uber Eats I think is 15%. I think they exposed that publicly somewhere. But DoorDash is 25 some percent. It's freaking insane. It is like robbery. So these restaurants, like when you order like a hamburger and let's say it's $5 in store and it's $7 on the app, the restaurant isn't doing that just because. They're doing it because they have to cover the freaking commission. Just order from the restaurant itself. The thing is, like, it's harder to do that. Like it's hard. You can't, like, for delivery speaking, all these restaurants now use DoorDash or Uber Eats as like a third party. Like if you order a pizza, I actually think you're ordering it through DoorDash and Uber Eats, believe it or not. It's crazy. Also, I'm so sorry for those that are going to see an ad. I'll play a little bit more and then I'll pause again and we can talk more about this. Oh, and this, by the way, is Zackary Smigel. Like he's great. He's great. His content's awesome. You should subscribe to him. His content's awesome.
These apps take a percentage from restaurants on every order, which
yeah, here it is.
up. And gig workers are getting their backs blown out too. They're underpaid, stressed, and in a new hellish gamified labor system.
Right.
So in the end,
yeah, so the gamified system, as a DoorDash driver, I'm sorry if I'm pausing too much, but the system is really bad. Like there's like essentially when you drive, there's hotspots, right? So they create hotspots, and let's say the hotspot's like in my current neighborhood. What happens is if the hotspot's there and it's like a $4 boost, well, that means every driver is going to go there. So if normally you would get, let's say 2 orders an hour, because everybody's congregating to that hotspot in particular, you may actually lose money because everybody's going to your hotspot. So it just like, it not only gamifies it, they're like the apps like know implicitly that when they put that hotspot really high, they know all the drivers are going to go there because they know they need that. But at the same time, the drivers still get screwed over. Like it's so wild.
It really just seems like everyone is getting screwed. Someone should really make a YouTube video about this. Oh, we've reached the part of the video where I talk to you about today's sponsor, Cash App. Most of you already know Cash App is the easiest way to request money from Kate. Now back to it. Okay, so everyone is getting screwed. Why? How? And why now? To answer that, we have to see how we went from a promising food delivery future to a no-win delivery hellscape. For the last decade, venture capital has been the fuel behind pretty much every social media, dating, and of course, food delivery. If you're not familiar, VC is simple in theory. Investors pour billions into a company not because it's already profitable, but because they hope it will be someday. Profit doesn't matter in the short term. Growth does. That's the Silicon Valley playbook. And delivery apps ran the same play. Undercut the competition, flood the market with artificially cheap delivery, crush
Yep.
traditional delivery systems like your local pizza shop, and once you're the only game in town, jack up the prices and hope nobody notices.
So basically what I was saying before, I think a lot of pizza places now, actually Kiri, if Kiri was here, they could tell me. But like, for example, I think like Papa John's, like some of these delivery pizza places now, they actually third party out to Uber Eats and DoorDash and all them. Like it's essentially no longer always a pizza delivery driver, like a specific pizza delivery person. Like they essentially contract out to the other guys. And also like those pizza places are already on the platform. So it's like also kind of cut out, it feels like it's going to cut out like the pizza delivery folks that had the, just like specifically they were delivering pizza as a job at Domino's. But the worst part about it, and he'll talk about it later, is because they've done that, like DoorDash, Uber Eats and stuff, you aren't an employee, so you don't get benefits anymore.
This is a real concept.
So like it actually just hurts everybody. It's hurting everybody.
Blitzscaling means growing faster than your business can realistically handle.
Yeah.
Intentionally breaking things in the name of speed.
Yep.
Hire fast, expand quickly, and even lose money on purpose. All with the goal of becoming so big, so quickly that no one can catch up. The end game? Monopoly. And not the rage-inducing board game, but the situation where one company has exclusive control over the entire supply of a particular product or service.
Yep.
But here's the issue.
I mean, ISPs do this.
It only works if you win. And these apps weren't exactly winning. Believe it or not, in their early years, many of these platforms lost money on nearly every order. They subsidized prices, handed out promo codes, waived fees, anything to hook users. In fact, it was reported last year, publicly traded food delivery companies in the US and Europe have racked up over 20.
Oh, is that Deliveroo? That's probably Deliveroo.
Operating losses.
There it is. We found Deliveroo.
Take a step back with me for a second. When your business couldn't become profitable after we went through a pandemic during the one moment in human history perfectly designed for your business to make money and become profitable, I feel like we need to start evaluating your business. Even DoorDash, which has achieved market leadership, didn't even manage to turn a profit during the pandemic.
Nope.
And it wasn't until last year that DoorDash finally reported profitable quarter.
Yeah, so this is like also a thing that I remember. And they're not the only ones, obviously. Like all the delivery apps didn't make money for forever. They just essentially were just constantly losing money. But like he said, the goal was as long as you can get the most market share and you win, eventually at some point when you win, you're going to start actually making profit because you've taken over the market. And actually a lot of startup small businesses do this, like the startup businesses do this because this obviously coming from experience actually on this is part of the reason why I left my job, by the way, the Blitzscaling thing. This is one of the reasons why I left my job at a startup is they go so fast that the strategy is like essentially like try and go as fast as you can and build out your product, even if it's broken, to try and get as many customers/users as possible. But the downside of it is when you're an employee in that kind of environment and company, you burn out so fast. So that's another thing. Like DoorDash is big now, but when when startups do that, it burns out your employees.
And how did they manage that?
Which
with much of its investors
in my company, like
make money, all
of my old coworkers left that startup
things like service fees
because they got burned out.
Service fees, well, no one really knows. Here's what we do know. DoorDash charges a 15% service fee with a $3 minimum. Uber Eats uses a variable service fee based on basket size. Grubhub also charges a service fee, but how much depends on the restaurant, the weather, and possibly even Mercury's position in retrograde. These fees are deliberately hard to track, and that lack of transparency has drawn the attention of people in power. In 2024, a group of US politicians, including Senator Elizabeth Warren, sent letters to DoorDash and Uber demanding answers about their pricing systems, accusing them of hiding fees, shifting blame, and quote, price gouging, plain and simple. And regulators aren't stopping at letters. In December 2024, the FTC and Illinois Attorney General reached a $25 million settlement with Grubhub over deceptive pricing practices that harmed consumers, drivers, and restaurants. And in February 2025, DoorDash paid nearly $17 million to settle a lawsuit with the New York Attorney General for misleading customers about how tipping worked. If it's
like it's got to be bad when you're just like constantly seeing these delivery companies getting lawsuits against them. Like how, like you have to know something is just inherently wrong when it's just constant lawsuits going their way. It's just like, can't, do you think like somebody sat down and go, huh, we keep having to sue these guys because they're constantly like trying to manipulate and hide information from their customers. Maybe there's some kind of issue with this whole business.
Sounds like
Don't we think we should,
never really
you know,
take
I don't
accountability.
know.
It's because they don't. Every time there's a complaint, they point fingers. When people noticed that prices on delivery apps were insanely high compared to than in store, DoorDash dropped a press release.
Oh my
setting the
God.
record straight on menu prices.
No
In
freaking
it,
way.
They claimed they don't require restaurants to raise prices. And in fact, they quote, recommend that menu prices stay close to in-store levels to avoid disappointing customers.
My God.
And they're
I want to pause again, but I'm going to let it go. Actually, I guess we'll talk while the ad plays. Yeah, so this is like, oh God, this is such classic corporate manipulation. They're essentially like saying, oh no, we don't force the businesses to increase their price, even though we charge like a 25% commission. We don't do that.
right.
I'm like,
but
you
also
do.
completely wrong.
You
They
do.
conveniently leave out the fact that restaurants are basically forced to charge more because,
Yes.
and write this down, DoorDash takes 15 to 30%
Yeah,
of
it's
every order from the restaurant.
it's insane. Like
Yes, you heard
30%
that
is
correctly.
insane.
They don't just make money from service fees, subscriptions, or even merch. They also charge the restaurants a hefty commission just to appear on the app. The specific percentage depends
I
on
actually didn't know
partnership plan.
this. Apparently there's some kind of tier system with the restaurants. I didn't even know this existed. Is you basically have like this tiered system. It's like, oh, do you want us to take 30% commission? Like, and essentially you're essentially sponsored content at that point. But they take 30%. Like it's freaking insane. Even just 15% is crazy.
The restaurant chooses, with higher tiers offering more marketing support in exchange for a higher commission. That's why, in my case, a Big Mac at my local McDonald's is 30% more expensive on the app, because DoorDash is likely charging McDonald's that same percentage.
Yes.
To break even on DoorDash orders, these restaurants have to raise prices. They're not really trying to rip you off, they're just trying to adapt or even survive. Now, you might think that this kind of markup doesn't really matter for big chains like McDonald's or Burger King, and maybe for them it doesn't matter as much, but for small independent restaurants, many of which already operate on razor-thin margins, this is a huge problem.
Yes.
And even if you did everything right, adjusted your prices, cut costs, and tried to keep customers happy, the apps still found new ways to undercut you. Over the past few years, delivery apps have quietly helped fuel the rise of something called ghost kitchens.
Oh
also
God,
known
not the
as
ghost
cloud
kitchens.
or even virtual
Oh
chains.
dear.
Ghost kitchens are restaurants with no storefronts, no seating, and sometimes not even their own kitchen space. They exist purely on delivery apps, often operating out of the back of an existing restaurant or even cloud kitchen warehouses. You may have already eaten from one without even realizing it. Burger Den and The Meltdown, guess what? That's just Denny's in disguise. Wild Burger is Buffalo Wild Wings. Cosmic Wings and Neighborhood Wings,
Yeah.
both are just Applebee's.
Yep.
And those are the tame ones, established chains spinning off virtual brands to repackage existing menu items and test out new ones under different names. But where it gets weirder is with the industrial scale ghost kitchen hubs, cranking out food for dozens of fake restaurants all at once. Here's one in Pittsburgh called the Mill Food Company, located right in the middle of the
Jesus.
city. From that single kitchen, you'll find brands like the Hungry Cowgirl, the Hungry Siren, Pita Dust, and more.
What are these names? Hold on. What are these names?
Cowgirl, the Hungry Siren, Pita.
The Hungry Cowgirl, the Hungry Siren, Pita Dust. Those are just like Chat GPT names. That's like, hi, I need a name. Is that a Toy Story doll? That's the character from Toy Story. What's her name? Oh my God. That's literally the Toy Story character right there. It has to be. They just put the Toy Story character there and they're like, yeah, the Hungry Cowgirl. Oh my God. What the fuck? Oh my God. These are Chat GPT names. The Hungry Siren, that doesn't even like, that, I don't even think that makes sense. What the fuck? Okay, these names are, there's something.
And more. And this isn't just
There's
a Pittsburgh
something.
thing. These ghost kitchens are popping up across the US at scale. Now, to be clear, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with offering more food options to consumers.
Oh my
but
God.
Ghost kitchens are not the way to do this for multiple reasons. Firstly, they dilute visibility for real local restaurants trying
Yes.
to compete. You open these delivery apps and see 300 options, not realizing that 50 of them are just the same kitchen wearing different hats. So if you're a small independent restaurant already struggling to survive while handing over 30% of your profits to a delivery app, now you're also competing with a dozen ghost brands backed by corporate chains or venture capital. But the worst part, in my opinion, is the lack of transparency. Ghost kitchens are designed to be replaceable. They're built to look appealing on the screen, cheap to produce, and easy to kill off when they stop performing. If one of these brands starts getting bad reviews, it can be quietly
You just turn it
retired and
down,
replaced
yeah.
with a new one, all while operating at the exact same location. So let's recap.
There's also like some health risks too with ghost kitchens, because if you have allergies to, let's say, peanuts, and one restaurant doesn't obviously have that issue for you, but in the ghost kitchen, like the next restaurant, next kitchen has peanuts, doesn't that become an issue? That seems like a huge health issue, where you have like, you can't like deal with handling those, considerations at all, or just any other issue besides just peanut allergies. Like, what if, I don't know, it's ghost kitchens are just bad. I just think they're bad.
Paying more, restaurants are earning less.
Try Crest 3D White.
Ghost kitchens just sound bad. There's a brewery near me called the Screaming Unicorn. I could actually vibe on that one. I like that. I think that's fine.
Muddying the waters and crowding.
The Hungry Siren is just like, I'm like, couldn't you have done anything different with that?
Market, but
that's just a chat GPT name. They're like, okay, give me 10 restaurant names.
And what have apps done with delivery drivers? Well, it's somehow worse. According to Glassdoor, the average hourly pay for DoorDash drivers in the US ranges between $17 to $24.
No,
with a median
it's
of around
not.
$20.
It's
On
not.
paper, that sounds decent. Even
It's not. That's a
to
lot. That's
traditional
not true
delivery
at all.
jobs like FedEx
That can't
or
be true.
UPS. But there's a catch. Actually, there are several. DoorDash drivers are independent contractors, not employees. That means they're responsible for everything: gas, car repairs,
maintenance,
insurance, and taxes. So when you hear that drivers make around $20 an hour, after costs, it's often closer to $14 or $15, sometimes even less.
It's less
DoorDash
usually.
gets thousands of people to do delivery work every day without ever having to hire them. There's no payroll, no benefits, no truck.
The only way you make more than that per hour, let's just take away the app itself. If you're if you're like a gig delivery driver, the way you make money is not from the individual app itself. You will track your hourly rate by like running 3 apps at a time. That's how you make your decent hourly rate. So you'll run DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub at the same time, and then you'll essentially like bundle orders together in such a way where you basically take like 2 orders at once that are going the same direction, and you like have, there's like a system that they do. If you just run one app, you don't do that. You hold the food hostage for tips. Great idea. Just be like, hey, you give me a tip. I mean, like, people, like, it depends on the app, but like, yeah, people don't even if they tip. There was actually this thing with DoorDash. I don't think it's mentioned here, but DoorDash got in trouble for this before. They actually got in trouble for taking tips before. I'm pretty sure. I should look this up. DoorDash takes tips. There was like, yeah, okay, DoorDash to pay $16.75 million over stolen tips from delivery drivers. This was from this was a agreed to pay $16.75 million to settle a probe from the New York Attorney General Letitia James, who found that the meal delivery giant had been shorting its drivers out of tips with deceptive payment practices. Come on. They're taking the fucking tips. And even though they didn't like admit, they were like, they settled. To
maintain if something.
So you gotta run like multiple apps. You're not gonna get your tips all the time.
Also their problem. If they get sick or injured on the job,
the hourly rate, it's bad.
And when lawmakers in California tried to close that loophole, a bill that would have required companies like
God, this bill, I remember this bill.
Treat their workers as employees. Those companies collectively spent, and get this, over $200 million campaigning against it.
Yeah, this bill, I voted on this bill and said no. I think this passed with yes. the delivery companies and rideshare companies spent $200 million specifically in California to make sure that drivers were not employees, like altogether. Like, isn't that insane? They could have used any of that money just to make sure that the drivers had like even just health insurance. But no, instead they spent $200 million just to make sure they wouldn't get those benefits. That's fucking insane.
They pushed something called
That's so
Groceries
insane
Convenience,
thinking
a
about
ballot
it.
initiative that carved
Yeah, I
out
remember this. I was like,
drivers.
please
There
let
were
this,
ads everywhere.
please
They
let
framed it as
this
protecting
say no.
flexibility for drivers, but in
They also
reality,
threatened to
it was
leave the
a
state or
massive
something.
corporate-funded effort to maintain the status quo, and it worked. The measure
Look at this.
and
Wait,
was
look at
a
this
massive
chart. What will Prop 22 mean for gig workers? Guaranteed minimum wage? No. Eligible for overtime pay? No. What do you think people did? They're like, do you want a guaranteed minimum wage and get overtime? That's what saying no said, by the way. That's what saying no said.
massive corporate-funded effort. to
Guess what
maintain the
happened?
Status quo, and it worked. The measure
They literally tricked people. They literally fucking tricked people into thinking that this was good.
these companies.
Oh my
illegal
God, it
schemes
was
because
crazy.
Workers like disposable tools.
I
These
couldn't
warehouses
believe that
literally are
actually
taking
passed with a
advantage of
yes.
their
It was so
drivers.
insane at the
They
time.
designed a solution, a gamified labor system. Drivers are lured in with bonuses.
Oh
to join.
God.
Simple things like earn $150.
Yep,
when
you
join,
get
and
like
you'll
earnings
deliver
to start,
orders.
you get
And then once
quests.
they get you into the system, some apps offer things like quests
Yeah,
or
quests.
challenges.
There it is.
Little missions that sound like
Nice.
side quests in a video game.
Good reference there.
Tactics to keep people working longer for less. You'll see stuff like complete 10 deliveries
Yes.
between 5 and 9 p.m.
This wasn't a thing when I was driving that
Feels like a
much,
bonus, but it's actually about flooding the street
starting
with drivers
bonus
during
was a
peak
thing.
hours, which drives down base pay and ramps up competition. More drivers means more supply, and more supply means lower pay for everyone.
Right.
They've also added tier systems.
Oh God,
like
this fucking thing is garbage. This is garbage. I think I didn't have this when I was driving. This was garbage. This is pure garbage. Some of the orders you get on these apps are horrible. It's like, can you drive 5 miles for $2? I'm like, what? Yeah, some of the like actual things you get are just garbage. And now they're gamifying it. So like, oh, by the way, if you don't take that garbage, you don't get our cool like platinum rank. It's so stupid. Vote no to get them released, I think, or so. Yeah, I mean, like, it's amazing what these like companies can do to trick you with their advertising. Yeah, they trick people. I couldn't believe it. I was like, do you guys not understand what you're voting? Can you please understand this?
Orders,
yeah.
your customer rating.
You're a top dasher, which
often you'll get perks like priority access to better orders and delivery zones. But in practice,
it's garbage. Yes. It's such garbage.
Bad ones, just to stay in the club. Imagine being offered $3 to drive 10 miles for one item and feel like you have to say
it's ridiculous.
or risk losing your
it's ridiculous
perks. So when it's all said,
that's
and
probably
done,
the worst thing
drivers aren't
actually.
working with freedom or flexibility. They're working inside a system that pretends to offer both while quietly taking away control. Now, you might be sitting there drafting a comment saying, Zach, despite your great hair and smooth way with words,
he does have good
I
hair.
don't see why this is a massive issue or how it's any different from what delivery
It's
drivers
terrible.
have dealt
It's
with
terrible.
in the past. And maybe you're right, we don't know. So to learn more, I sat down with someone who's actually lived this. I have a friend who's delivered for Papa John's, Domino's, DoorDash, and Uber Eats. He's easily one of the most qualified people I know when it comes to the topic, and here's what he had to say. Hello everybody, I'm here with my friend Dion to talk about food delivery, and he is an expert in the food delivery category. So for starters, Dion, can you give us an idea of how long you've been working in the food delivery industry?
Yes, so it's been something like 8 years or so, with 6 of that being Domino's, 2 years or so Papa John's, and then like 6 months was full-time DoorDash. So the first place was Papa John's during...
Dang it. Be interesting. It's interesting to hear what he has to say.
During college, actually. And then from there, I saw the opportunity to go to Domino's, which was a much busier store, and the pay rate was, it kind of equaled out to like double the money or so. It's and for like DoorDash, it's market dependent. And then for like restaurants and pizza.
That's right. DoorDash is market dependent too. Oh God, I forgot about this. Like, I forgot to even like, yeah, I didn't even think of this. Like, certain markets, like you just can't even DoorDash effectively. You just don't. You don't get enough work basically.
It's like dependent on how busy your store is. I like to think like, you know, the bigger pie, the bigger piece you get.
What was the reason that you decided to leave pizza and then go to try DoorDash?
There's like positives and negatives to every job, and then, you know, DoorDash is quite the same, where like you get the freedom, you get to be like your pseudo boss, I call it, where you set your own schedule and you can essentially work whenever you want. I actually took like a week to test it out, and I was like, this is sustainable. I felt the freedom, and it felt good to have like my own schedule under my complete control and just be able to like log off and log on whenever I wanted to.
Are you able to share?
It's well, that's true. It is true. Like during the time I was doing it, I would actually only do it during lunch and dinner. So I would go for like a couple hours during lunch, and then I would sign off. And then around the time dinner was going to start, I would sign back on, and I'd go for a couple hours for dinner. So like that is nice. Like it's nice to be able to just be like, okay, I didn't even do anything in the morning necessarily, even though I could have. I had like other stuff that I did in the morning, whether it's errands or other work. And then I would sign on for the lunch part around like 11 a.m. ish. And then I would go until about 2, sign off for a couple hours, get back on at like 5 or something, and then stay on for another couple hours and then go home. So like in that aspect, it's nice. But again, there's the downside of one, what happens if you just get like a bad run? You just get a bad shift. Like I do remember sometimes I would only make like $30. Other times I would make a lot more because I would get a big order. Like it's extremely dependent on your order size sometimes. There was actually this place called Zoom Pizza near me, and they were like my favorite. It was like ZUME. They actually don't exist anymore. But it was like essentially like a robotic food truck. The like robots made the pizza. It was interesting, but they were my favorite because every time I would have to deliver for them to somebody, they like the pizza was ready really quickly, and they were always next to where I lived. So it was super easy to get orders from them because people were constantly ordering from this Zoom Pizza thing. So I loved them. They were great. And they let me keep a bunch of stuff too. And they gave me like some discounts on pizza after the fact. They were super cool.
Easy for me in my market to hit around 20
So it depends.
an hour before the tax. One of the main reasons I did go back is because at Domino's it's like usually like 22 an hour after tax.
Okay.
It is
22 an hour is actually not
like the
bad at all.
Boss. And I kind of like to ask. I was asking.
That's not bad at all.
How much does freedom cost? You know, DoorDash has tiers of a driver. You like either silver, gold,
22 an hour is
and they tell you that
like,
platinum
real good.
unlocks the best deliveries. And to get to platinum now, you have to have a 70% acceptance
Oh,
rate.
God.
It felt really kind of like emotionally manipulative that they force you to be at that acceptance rate, so you're kind of like accepting the garbage orders. Where like I've seen bad ones where they'll be like just the $2 base pay for like 14 miles. I remember specifically one time crashing out because I wanted to keep that 70% acceptance rate, and like they were just sending me bad order after bad order after bad.
Yeah, this is the issue with the stupid, by the way, the platinum tier. Like if you want to keep the status, you have to take bad orders. And like bad orders are devastating. Like if you take, let's say you take a 4 mile for $4 order. Okay. That could take 30 plus minutes. So now you've only made, let's even pretend you don't get a tip. You may not get a tip. So now you've just done a $4 30-minute order for $4. And then let's say you don't get another order for 15 minutes. Like that's, you just like made $4 that hour. So like the bad orders are devastating because I feel like most orders take like 20 to 30 minutes. If you get a bad order, like you're just screwed.
Bad order. And then
your hours just like completely ruined. It absolutely demoralizes you.
I just decided to go home for the day because it burnt me out. So, you know, the positive is that I could just turn the app off and go home. Feels like morally wrong because it is like income that people can depend on.
Yeah, it is. It is wrong.
That's where like the emotion comes in. That's really why I crashed out, you know, because it's like, do I take this so that I can have a better income? Which, you know, income's very important to keep yourself alive. So with jobs, you get all like the standard job benefits of like you get your coworkers, you get your little family. And on the DoorDash side, it is a bit lonely unless you're like making connections with the stores that you're picking
right.
up from.
That's another
DoorDash
thing.
Has the positives of just being your own boss. So again, I like to ask myself is like, what is the cost of freedom?
The only people I ever communicated with like truly communicated with while doing my dashing was that Zoom pizza. Those are the only people that would actually talk to me. All the other restaurants would just be like, yeah, that one. And then I'd go. You don't talk to anybody. Nobody talks to you. And then you just like, nobody you deliver to talks to you. So obviously there's that. The only people that talked to me were these like Zoom pizza people. They were awesome. They were the only people that would talk to me and that would actually like be nice.
Is there anything that
Everybody else
DoorDash
just
or
kind of is
Uber
like, yeah, whatever, get out of
do
here.
that would actually make you go back?
I guess it would be like guaranteed pay, something where I could have like at least a minimum.
They're
minimum
never gonna
paid
do
for that. You
guaranteed
could
pay.
Go out there for 3 hours and make like $5.
If they did, it would be terrible guaranteed pay. It'd be like $8 an hour.
You could go out there and make like $6 or something. If you
It would be
got
$8 an
10
hour,
and it's
which
like you
I know that
3
could
hours
that's
to
like
get 3
potentially
deliveries
federal
and make
minimum
no
wage, but
tip.
Do you think that
for driving,
DoorDash
it's
is here to
it's
stay,
bad.
and these apps are here to stay, or do you think their days are numbered?
That's an opinionated question.
Well, this is
No, that's good. That's good. It's just hard to think about. That's like a future thought, you know. I've seen them testing out drones in some places, so I don't know that, but you know, you can't have a drone in a thunderstorm. So.
Did you get tipped more on Domino's, DoorDash, or Papa John's? Like, what did your tips look like? What's the difference?
Yeah, it's hard to say, really. I do think, I feel like people generally tip less on DoorDash. I do know for sure that, like Domino's, I've gotten, like, plenty of 10 and up, and, like, DoorDash, I can kind of, like, count on one hand how many times I've been tipped more than, like, $6.
How
Yeah,
many pizzas
you
have
don't get tipped
eaten
that much on DoorDash or
approximately
Uber
since
Eats or
you've been
whatever.
working
Not
for
too
Domino's?
much.
There was a good period where, probably, like, a year or so, where I would just go in there, and some of my favorite insiders, I'd be like, hey, small pepperoni sausage, and then it was like, I would just sit down and devour the whole thing every day. Definitely hundreds, maybe
Hundreds
thousands.
of pizzas.
Yep.
Okay.
Get more savings from
Like,
Shell when you
yeah,
join
I
the
remember
rewards program today.
when
And
I
right
was
now, core
dashing,
members save an extra 30 cents per gallon.
I'm trying to
Offer valid
remember.
from
I don't remember
9
how
to
often I would
11
get tipped, but
participating
you don't get
transactions.
tipped a lot of
Minimum
money.
balance. Restrictions apply. Visit fuelrewards.com.
Unless the order is big.
Haha.
If the order is really big, you can get a good tip. I think the biggest I've gotten was like honestly $20 because the order I picked up was like worth it had to have been worth like $100+. But like small, like if you just pick up like a McDonald's combo meal order, you'll get like maybe $2.
And wasn't that informative? With these apps,
Because they
effectively hurt
essentially like
consumers,
DoorDash essentially
restaurants,
tells
and
people
gig workers
to do like
that
10
might feel
to or
under.
15% on a
What is the
tip.
future of delivery really going to look
And most
like?
people just do
Back
like
in
10%.
April 2020,
Or
DoorDash
none.
launched its convenience category, offering more than just food. Uber followed in March 2021, and before long, nearly every delivery app had added non-food deliveries to their platform.
Yep.
Booze, pet food, toilet paper, cold medicine, you name it. And yet
I've had to
another
pick up
attempt to
orders that
finally
were
become
not like
profitable,
groceries,
these
but
apps
convenience.
expanded into groceries and everyday
Oh, I like his.
essentials.
Wait a minute. I like his little Pikachu thing right here. What's this? This is like a Happy Meal thing. This is great.
But
Wait, I want
by
that.
doing that, they woke up a giant, Amazon. Technically, Amazon has been dabbling in groceries since 2007, when it launched Amazon Fresh. But things didn't really take off until 2017, when Amazon bought Whole Foods for $13.7 billion. Since then, Amazon has been slowly and quietly building out a full grocery delivery empire, with specialized warehouses, temperature-controlled fulfillment centers, and one of the most efficient logistic networks in the world. And in August of this year, Amazon officially started rolling out same-day delivery of fresh food to more than 1,000 US cities and towns.
Actually, there was another service that he didn't talk about here. There was one more. Google. Google had a service. Oh man, I bet Google's like smacking their heads or something. Google had a service. You paid like a subscription or something. Google had a service where you did this. You would order delivery with Google. I remember Google had this. And I'm sure Google's like
with plans to reach
slapping
at least
themselves because they were too
2,300
early.
locations
They were
by the
way
end of
too
the
early
year.
into that
For
market.
Prime members, the service is free on orders over $25 in most cities.
Yeah,
If
it's
your
pretty
order
good.
doesn't hit that minimum, it's just $2.99. That's the key
pretty
difference.
damn good.
Unlike paying service fees with DoorDash or Uber Eats, Amazon has Prime. You know,
Yeah.
that subscription people keep for Thursday night football, streaming crappy movies, and of course, free 2-day shipping. With over 200 million Prime members already on board, layering in grocery delivery was basically a no-brainer.
Yep.
Fast, essentially free delivery from a company that
I think it was called
already has
Google
your credit card
Express.
on
I don't
file,
remember what it was
that's
called.
a competitive advantage.
Look this
And
up.
while
Google
Amazon takes a chunk
Express.
of the grocery segment, the rest of the delivery space is starting to wobble. Grubhub is arguably the best example of a delivery app in decline. The company still isn't profitable and has hemorrhaged market share over the last 5 years. Along the way, they faced a barrage of lawsuits. In 2023, the DC Attorney General sued Grubhub for exploiting struggling restaurants during the pandemic, accusing them of listing over 1,000 businesses on the app without permission or contract.
Wait, what? Agreed in a case originally filed that alleged Grubhub falsely advertised unaffiliated restaurants that were added to its platform without permission. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Only 7 million, by the way. That's like nothing. They probably don't care. They're probably like, yeah, okay, 7 million. We don't care. Wait, the settlement could involve up to 387,000 businesses? Jesus Christ. Oh my God. See, this is the thing. Like, this is like a slap on the wrist, to be honest.
Another lawsuit alleged that Grubhub deceptively advertises the consumer.
I love how Grubhub is on all these right now.
Free, but then charges consumers fees on those orders at checkout. In the same lawsuit, it's also alleged Grubhub rigged its search results.
Jesus.
Meaning when users searched Chinese food near me, they didn't see the best reviewed spots. They saw the ones paying Grubhub the most. With all these lawsuits,
Yeah, they saw the sponsored ones or whatever. It's ridiculous. I don't think Grubhub is doing particularly well in the space anyway, but it's just ridiculous how many times these companies get sued for different, like, either deceptive practices or just like hiding information. I mean, I guess that is a deceptive practice, but it's just ridiculous. Like with DoorDash and tipping, you know, I don't know, like Uber Eats is specific ones. I'd have to look that up. All this and still not profitable. Only DoorDash has been profitable, and it's taken them like over, I think it's like 12 years. It's taken them like 12 years to finally turn a profit. That's insane. That's insane. The other ones don't profit. I know that for sure. They don't profit. But like DoorDash profited finally, like recently. But the only reason they profited, like think about it. The only way they can turn a profit, just think about this. The only way they can turn a profit is by screwing over everybody else. Like, so they have to screw over the restaurant by charging them like an insane commission fee. They charge the user with insane fees now. And the DoorDash driver gets screwed over by not being paid enough, frankly. So they're not paid enough. The customer gets screwed. The restaurant gets screwed. The only people that don't get screwed are DoorDash themselves. DoorDash is like charging everybody, essentially screwing everybody over. They screw over the drivers with these stupid like tiers, and they screw them over by not protecting them, frankly, well enough. The restaurant gets screwed over. Like, it's just ridiculous. And that's how they turn a profit. They screw everybody over.
And bad PR. Some go
to me, at some point, something's going to break.
Is finally bursting. But personally, I don't think that's the case. While Grubhub might be having major issues and maybe their days are numbered, DoorDash, on the other hand, despite the losses,
if Grubhub goes away, DoorDash just gets bigger, so
is winning. And if I had to guess, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. They now control about 67%.
That's fucking insane. Look at this. 60% of the market is DoorDash. Whoa, that is not a good thing, by the way. That's why they can charge these insane fees, because they're like, okay, well, we're like one of the only games in town. In the US specifically, like they're like the only game in town sometimes. So like you're stuck with them and they know it. Yeah, Grubhub is 8%. Uber Eats is 23%. Like
food delivery market.
Crazy.
And like I mentioned earlier, they're finally profitable, which means the exploitative system worked.
Yeah,
that's the
exploiting people worked.
DoorDash squeezed restaurants, underpaid drivers, tacked on junk fees for customers, and somehow came out on top. They've proven something bleak. You can build a sustainable business on unsustainable practices, as long as you're the last one standing.
Right.
They're winning, and dare I say won. So what does that mean for the rest of us? Well, here's the thing. If DoorDash continues to dominate food delivery and Amazon keeps expanding its grocery empire, we're headed toward a future where just a few mega platforms control how food gets to your door. And that kind of consolidation rarely works out for workers, small businesses,
It's not
or
gonna
consumers
work.
in the long run. But the convenience of these apps is real. People rely on them, especially disabled folks, parents, caretakers, or anyone who's just burned out and trying to survive on a Tuesday. That said, just because these apps are convenient doesn't mean we should blindly accept the system behind them. If you care about supporting local restaurants, check if they have their own delivery ordering system. Many do. Or
Yeah, they
try
do.
platforms that charge less predatory fees on restaurants. Chow Now and Slice are two that I've been told are better for restaurants. And then finally, if you're a delivery driver, if this work is working for you, that's great. Seriously, get your bag. I get the allure of being able to make your own schedule and work whenever. But like with everything in life, it's always worth exploring other options if possible.
Yep.
Some restaurants, especially pizza chains or local spots, might actually offer better pay and more stability. And you don't have to take my word for it. Take someone who's actually done this for 8 years.
I love my job really a lot. So like, well, I like driving, I like music, and I like pizza, right? So it's kind of the perfect concoction. I get free food kind of a lot. I would call delivering food the best low skill job, because driving is a skill, but it's not exactly like, doesn't really take you that long to become decently
Right.
good enough that you can deliver food. I would say it's the best work to income ratio, where I'm generally doing like not that much. I just get to listen to podcasts or just listen to music and enjoy my alone time in the car.
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Cash App for sponsoring this video. And
Yeah. So anyway, I think, yeah, this one for me, like, hit pretty close to home when I watched it. I've only seen like one other video where somebody talked about food delivery and I got a chance to watch it. But it was nice to see like a long explanation of all the stuff that I've been thinking about for a while with food delivery. And I stopped partly because I just knew it wasn't going to sustain itself for me, but also I just wanted something different. It was like I think for short term, like I'm trying to transition to something else, for jobs, or I'm trying to get like a very quick like side hustle. It's pretty easy to get started, so that's nice. But like you doing it long term, I don't think works particularly great. So that's why for me it was like a short term thing until I started my next sort of adventure, which for short term I think it's fine. But like once you get to tax season, you start to realize where the problems also come in. And you put wear and tear on your car, and there's like a whole other slew of issues. So anyway, yeah, great video again from Zach. I love his videos, so hopefully we'll get to watch another one here. And for those that are watching this live or on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know how you think of food delivery as well in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want more of these. And yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see you in the next react.